What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Pernigo bringing you some more Cosmonarchy casts. Today we're going to be taking a look at a 3-game set, we'll probably do the first 2 in this video, between JarrellStorm and SmrtyCakes, a Zerg versus Protoss on the docket. I hope you guys are excited. We do have a spectator, Arbuz Budesh, and he said that there's a lot of typing, but that the series is really fun. And so we'll have to endure the typing. I'll probably just disregard most of it. But maybe it'll be funny. Arbuz is kind of a funny guy. We've got JarrellStorm in the top left as the Zerg player from America. And I'm going to guess he is... Is this actually the return of Forest Green? It's a little bit too dark. I'm just going to say dark green. Oh my god, I was right the first time. Well, that'll teach me. We've got Honda Pablo, also known as SmrtyCakes, another American player, this time Protoss in the bottom right. And this looks to me like it could be cyan, but it could be eggshell blue. And in fact, I think the discoloration on the Nexus is getting me again. I'm going to say eggshell blue. All right. I got that one, boys. I got that one. And if you don't know why I guess the colors every time, maybe this is your first video looking at Cosmonarchy. What's he talking about colors for? Well, we've got over 100 of them in the game. And so, yeah, there's a large number that you can end up seeing as far as, timings are concerned. And obviously there's some bright ones that are not visible on the snow tile set, right? So we just blacklisted those, but there's a bunch of them like that. Now, we do have an expansion fairly quickly here from JarrellStorm, so I am expecting that he is going to go into Pool as a follow-up, since he's not harvesting any Vespene. There are 3 structures for tech that you can make in the early stages as Zerg. The Pool, the Den, the Shroud. Those are how you can know them if you are new to the project. But it will be a pool opener, so this should look very, very similar, actually, to Starcraft 1, for anybody who's visiting that. Now, on the other side, we do have a gateway coming for SmrtyCakes. One thing that definitely doesn't look similar is that, hey, he's not walling, what's going on? And there's no, like, silly eggs or whatever in the ramp or whatever, in choke area. Yeah, well, let's just say that walling doesn't typically end up happening in StarCraft 1, or in Cosmonarchy. And, I don't mind if walling does happen, but it's kind of interesting that we don't end up seeing it. Maybe that'll be an innovation brought to you by some pro players who might pop in from time to time. Look at this. SmrtyCakes already looking around, skulking for that worker. Sees that there's nothing here, but it is indeed burrowed. So in Cosmonarchy, you can reveal burrowed units when you stand on them, and that's exactly what SmrtyCakes was trying to do there by moving his Zealot around. He knew that the worker came in, but the worker didn't go out. Where might it be? And of course, you get burrow by default. You get all of your abilities unlocked by default. So that is a feature of Cosmonarchy that is pretty useful for that particular reason. Now, obviously, SmrtyCakes is trying to kill this worker before it can scout the rogue galleries, but he's not successful, so that is a little bit of a flub. And the fact that we now have 2 rogue galleries coming up means that SmrtyCakes will, of course, be able to get some pretty powerful units in the early stages of the game, but this does mean that he's got his expansion delayed. And we already have a Kagrant turning into a Circuith over here, and, oh, that's funny. So he knew that it was in that general direction. Yeah, basically, so if we can see that there's a rally line, and when you select it as a player, it'll automatically show by default. It doesn't actually track into the fog, but it will show you the direction that you need to look in. And so it'll when you last saw it, basically, is what it'll show. So it's kind of interesting as a little detail there. If I guess that's one way to do it if you're trying to see into that. It should, it should basically, hang up and, stop moving, stop tracking when you lose vision, but it should still be in that general area, so, it's just one of those things. We do have the Ovaleth out here. So the Ovaleth obviously there's no supply in Cosmonarchy, right? That's why you don't see any Overlords by default. So the Ovaleth is capable of transporting. It's even capable of picking up Kagrants, right? The creep colony. The Kagrant Cesian can be picked up by the Ovaleth, but not the Circuith. When you mutate it into a defensive structure or any other structure, because there's a couple others, there's definitely some opportunity there where you've got some power, I should say. You've got some ability to move and relocate those, but if they're mutated, they're a little bit too heavy. You can see here that Jarrell has decided to go into gas harvesting exclusively at his natural. He is not interested in the minerals right now. He is mutating his pool into a pond, the Vornath pond on the way, and we've got some Cabalists for the timing coming up here from SmrtyCakes. He has done this before, and I think as soon as the rogue galleries were spotted, the Ovaleth came out for detection, because the Cabalists will otherwise do a lot of damage just to infiltrate the enemy. They only reveal themselves when they attack, so it's not like the StarCraft 1 Dark Templar, But it looks like now his SmrtyCakes wants to maybe dive in. When they're cloaked, they actually teleport onto their target. So they're very, very good at sniping and picking off individual units. But that Ovoleth detection allowed them to get softened up beforehand, and SmrtyCakes just didn't have enough to breach the circuits before they hit. So now, because SmrtyCakes has sort of thrown away his initial military units, it's going to be a while before he can reasonably attack into this position. And he is now, I would say, on the back foot, right? He doesn't have his expansion up. He wasn't able to do any economic damage. And now the Nathracores are coming out here. Just a single pair for scouting. Well, I assume they're going to be for scouting. But obviously, nothing here shoots up either, right? So, going to be an interesting choice there. It's just Zealot, Cabalist. I mean, I still think SmrtyCakes, like, if he had kept his units alive and waited for another few rotations of his macro rounds, right? Like, that actually, he's got a very scary-looking army, right? This is almost like a one-base all-in move from Smarty. He does have his scribe in position to make an additional, additional base, but I don't know, man. I'm not 100% sure that it's a good move. And now the Ovoleth leaving, I feel like Jarrell is very, very dangerous. It's a very dangerous move to leave when you see that. It's almost like SmrtyCakes is basically playing around with him by saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to lose my units in the early play. Now move your Ovoleth and then let me in, because he's got way more Cabalists now than he did before. He's actually going to go ahead and think about poking up. I think when the Zealots show up, that will maybe tell Jarrell that he might need to pull on back. He is taking a third base. So you know what? I guess he's not leaving all of his eggs in one basket. But the Nathracores are going to come out here, and I think they are going to spot the Zealots. They don't have great vision range, but yeah, Jarrell will indeed see that. That's actually going to be the go signal. The Cabalists are going to go in, and I feel like this is going to be really ugly really quickly. There is an Ovoleth about to pop. Is it in the natural, though? It does not look like it was in the natural. It was in the main, so it's going to take a while to get here. Not that that matters too much, because the Cabalists actually did just decide to start attacking and then thus revealed themselves. But that Ovoleth needs to be moved from wherever it was. Yeah, okay, here it is. It's back, and now the workers are trying to see if they can defend themselves, but it's not going too well. The Cabalists one-shot Zethracores. Even so, one of them does end up falling. The remutated circuits are going to be able to get some good value, and while Jarrell does have less workers than his opponent, oh man, he needs to keep that Ovoleth in tandem with everything else. The Nathracores are trying their best to kill the Zealots, but they're not going to have much of a defense versus the Cabalists. Those would have been the priority targets. They deal way more DPS. Looks like they will finally end up falling. Only 3 of them remaining. No, I say that, I tell a lie. There's another one that's slinked in. Look at the worker massacre that's going on right now. Sure, plenty of Hatcherosks, right? He's got, he was making another one somewhere else. Okay, he's making one right there. I would almost consider canceling this, getting the worker back on there. Oh my god, he didn't kill one of the Cabalists. Oh, from bad to worse here. He doesn't have any other units. He needs to go back to the natural and go where he can. Oh, never mind. He does have the Zethracores. He can probably make something happen there. That was smart play from Smarty. Living up to his name. Now he's just got to deal with 22 Nathracores coming into his base. He doesn't have any Ecclesiasts coming. He only has the Dracodons and the single Vagrant. I don't think this is going to be enough. He's going to have to micro his little heart out. One of the Dracodons has already fallen. He's trying his best there, but no, there's 20 of them on. You're not going to be able to get anything out of that. If there had been Ecclesiasts and there's plenty of gas for them, then I feel like this would have done a very different job, because Ecclesiasts restore their own shields, right? So that is very unfortunate. The Cloud of Nathracores, as Arbuz points out, is definitely a successful backstab, shall we say. So now it turns into a bit of a base race, and I don't really think that Smarty can win. I don't know. I think his Cabalist must have died in the meanwhile. Yeah, it looks like it died over here. It doesn't have a unique corpse yet, so you just look for the Protoss rubble, and that is what it has right now. So yeah, look at that. He's trying to desperately to keep the pylons alive, but I think Jarrell has done it. I think he's been able to crush this. What an action-packed first game, man. Like, between the Zealots, the Cabalists charging in, getting some good damage. He's trying to use flash shielding, but Zethracores have such great DPS. Not able to make it happen. And now his last pylon is done. The last Dracodon. And has to be called GG. Okay, well, Jarrell will take game 1. But if that's an indication of what kind of series we're in for, this is not going to be an easy one for our Zerg player. And that is pretty interesting. Arbuz, please leave the game. He's the one who sent the replays. I should have asked for one of the players. All right, that is game number 1. Let's move on to game number 2. Going from Cold Sweat, a map by Veek7, to Impetus, a map by Veek7. I can't remember the third map in the series, but I don't think it was a map by Veek7. We've got JarrellStorm in the bottom left here as the Teal Zerg. Won't get fooled by that again. And Honda Pablo, a.k.a. SmrtyCakes, in the top right as the Ultramarine Protoss. No, it was Zafir! Oh, I've been foiled. Oh, that's all right. 50% is 100%. A man said that once. So, we do have SmrtyCakes rocking. He's rocking the ye old Cabalist opener. I did like that. That did a lot of power there. I feel like what Arbuz is saying about the Nath switch, honestly, if equal resources had been put into Ecclesiasts, there's such a gas float in that game for Smarty that when the Naths hit, there could have been like 6 Ecclesiasts instead of 3 Drakenons. And I don't know if they would have won that fight, but it would have been a lot more even, and maybe it would have been salvageable after the fact, because maybe he would have whittled down the Nath cloud quite a bit. Obviously, splash damage would have been king, but he didn't have that, right? So we actually had a whole conversation just yesterday, actually, talking. I'm recording this yesterday. Well, no, I'm recording this today, but just yesterday from today. You know what I mean? Thursday, the 3rd of October, because we did have a stream where we spent like an hour and a half just working on balance and talking about different design concepts and making different things happen and all of that stuff. So I feel like it's interesting to look back at this sort of conversation between Arbuz and Smarty, Arbuz being the spectator, and they're both Protoss players. And so Arbuz is the highest ranked player in this lobby, if you will. I don't think there's anybody else yet. Nobody else is spectating. So it's kind of interesting to see that in action, where he's got his own takes, he's got his own opinions, but he can back that up with performance, right? Jarrell, on the other hand, is a Herald class player. He's the if Arbuz is class 1, which he is, then like in a tier 1 player, then we've got Jarrell, who is a tier 2 player. And Smarty, I mean, he's been a tier 3 player for a bit, but he's also been grinding it out, and he can take games, not just through cheesy openers either. He does have some ideas for taking games, and I've seen him play pretty well versus some tier 1 players, some tier 2 players. So I would say he's on the come up, right? Like, I wasn't expecting SmrtyCakes to emerge as a Herald class, a class 2, but you know what? It definitely, it could happen, is all I'm going to say. It could happen. Heralds have also, as a unit, all of the classes are named after units, and so this class 1 is Sovereign, and that's like a reference to the Star Sovereign. Class 3 is Aspirant, which is a factional unit. Look at this, the Zealot fighting the Zethicors in the early game. Oh my god, it's Brood War! I have no idea what has been typed during this, but no, you're not gonna get too much value out of that one, unfortunately. But I like the idea. I feel like, I wonder if Impetus has a very long rush distance, but I wonder if on closer spawn maps, Zealot into the hatch first thing couldn't actually do some good pressure. I feel like that is a pretty big, pretty legit deal. Atreus halfway done. The Hierophant's going to move out to try to slow down some of these Zeths and maybe draw them away from the base. And let's see what SmrtyCakes can do in this situation, because there's a lot of Zethicors out. Arbuz continuing his what would you call it, essay writing. He's got the Atreus, nice little pylon there to maybe reduce the surface area. Splash damage from the Atreus should help out here pretty massively. This is obviously before the changes that happened just yesterday, the 3rd of October, where we removed the splash and made them more of a sustained combat unit. But regardless, the second Atreus is nearly complete. That will shut down the pool opener here. But look at this. Jarrell is actually kind of calling the bluff. He is making some quas. Not that that's going to help him too much. But he's also saying, I honestly, what he would need in this situation is Vorvs, or maybe Hydras. Like, if he needs to upgrade his tech. He needs to change his tech up, because obviously the Protoss is invested into a tier 2 structure right after their gateway. So, yeah, Protoss units are still good. SmrtyCakes not able to expand just yet. Hydra then coming down, coming in. So yeah, looking pretty good about the den. We got some classic gamer words being exchanged, such as cope. And oh man, he spent money again. What a goober. Made another Atreus. No, never mind. He canceled his Atreus so he could put down the Nexus. Hell yeah. Dude, the positional audio stuff I've been doing, I can't wait to cast some games that are played like from the 3rd onward, because they have so many like sounds that are going to be like, when we go back in Flashback Fridays and stuff and the sounds aren't there, it's going to be a real miss, you know what I'm saying? So people are going to be like, what the hell? I love those sounds. But anyway, as the players continue to type about their situation, the Nexus is about a quarter of the way done. Jarrell is continuing to fortify his natural and continuing to be... He's actually behind in workers. He did make a lot of quas, which I feel like might have been a bit of a mistake. I feel like Also, he's got 2 stuck workers, or one worker that is hiding. He's hiding from his duties, derelict in his duty. What the hell? I do feel like when you make the quas, you're probably going to be doing that versus legionnaires, versus vassals. Like a lattice opener, quasilisks make a lot of sense. I think quasilisks can be a nice buck stop if you absolutely need a little bit of extra DPS. But making, 4 pairs of them, that's 75 minerals a pop. So you're talking about 300 minerals that could have been workers, that could have been another hatch, that could have been static defense. That obviously could have been put towards another tech node. And now he's made the den, but he's only now making hydras, right? So he didn't know he was going to be free to defend, right? But, yeah, I don't know. Like, he thought maybe there was going to be an attack coming, and that makes total sense. And as Arbuz did point out, if you keep the Zeths around, you can actually see where the move out is, right? Like, SmrtyCakes is not... He is a little bit traumatized, I would say, as Arbuz mentioned, because when you're in this situation, like, the Protoss has the power right now. They can go in across the map for a contain. They can stop the growth. Jarrell doesn't know this, but he's being given so much space. He can move across the map. He can take like a 6 o'clock. You just saw him send a worker out there. Like, he could have done that maybe at 5 minutes instead of 6.5. So these are little things that like could have definitely helped him out, but he didn't know that because he expected the Protoss to pressure, and SmrtyCakes is not doing that. So SmrtyCakes is instead opting to be very defensive. He's got a couple of anti-air emplacements set up here. He does have the Warden in his main, so there is that at least. Let's see. I mean, he's making charlatans. Charlatans are pretty good at force multiplying the the Atreus balls because of the splash damage. That's obviously something that we still have not yet considered. We've considered solutions to that, but basically the charlatan applies hallucination on hit. Right? Where did the charlatan go? I was just looking at it. He turned into an ecclesiast or what? Where is he? Hello? What? Oh. There he is. He's behind the rogue gallery entirely. Yeah, okay. Well, the charlatan has some, it doesn't have great DPS, right? It's got very piddling DPS, but when it hits a unit, and it does have some splash damage associated with it, when it hits a unit, it applies hallucinate to them, and hallucinating units will be fired upon twice. The second attack that hits them will deal half damage. Nat's now massing up over here, but SmrtyCakes does scout it as he was attempting to maybe take this expansion. And I love the pylon off to the side there, though. That's pretty good. The Zealot blocking the attempt at expanding. Only 2 Zethra I don't think are going to be able to kill that. Now we got the Atreus over here. Oh no, Jarrell! No, your Nathracors! Oh, disastrous. Yeah, gotta watch out for that. He's going to see if he can try to pressure the front. Obviously, versus air units, the stack of the charlatan only hit like 1 attack in that last engagement anyway. Oh my god. He's descending upon 6 o'clock to clear that that Zealot. Yeah, I feel like when we're thinking about like the way that the charlatan attack works with splash, like hallucination in general works with splash, it does feel like it probably creates a little bit of too much extra DPS. There was an idea for an entire rework where we would completely change the effect. I think it was Veek who suggested this, where units that were affected by hallucinate would simply miss every other attack. That has a very disproportionate effect, obviously, on units with longer cooldowns, and it's going to disproportionately reduce their DPS, I think. Because it's basically, you can think of it as doubling the attack speed, or attack cooldown, right? Increasing the attack speed, because that's what you're effectively doing. Nath, of course, could deny this 12 o'clock. Looks like they will do that. That little red overlay increases attack speed, so you definitely do not want to engage the fight in that situation. Hey, it's even synced, guys. The same. There's like 3 lines that it can be, and I think it's pretty epic. Some people don't like the voice lines. I'm not really sure what we can do for those people. All I can say is it's epic, dude. I guess theoretically we could have it be a config option that you could disable. No! Don't face them. That's the fate of all fools. Didn't you hear? He tried to tell you. So as the third base is going down, for the Protoss, JarrellStorm is going to go ahead and expand on the bottom right as he's setting up his 6 o'clock. So Zerg keeping ahead by roughly a base. There is a double Grand Library making 1 Cantavis for storms and such. 1 more Atreus because why not? And this is definitely something where, as the Zets, the Vorvs, the Hydras, they come in from the right-hand side, we do see a bit of a filter out on the left. If you can isolate and pick this Charlatan, that would be great. They are so expensive. Now you can see the sandwich attempt. There's the Storm. When you kill the Cantavis, the Storm ends. Look at that, him just recasting it over on top of these units. They're all clumping up and dying. That Storm needs to go, but no, it's not going to happen. It looks like there's a second Cantavis over here too somewhere. Yeah, there's two of them, and neither of them end up getting picked. That is rough. Yeah, ouch indeed. Like, I'm not sure what Protoss units died there. I think a couple Zealots. Looks like, you know, 2 Hierophants, a Drakodin. I'm not sure what that other unit was. Maybe a Charlatan. Yeah, did the Charlatan actually die? It looks like one of them may have. This one, on the other hand, not quite. So yeah, that's definitely rough. Circuit's now coming online, but it's going to take a little bit for them. And there's no combat units. He's now been making the Hydras. Yeah, he's going to go into the Iral Iris. Oh, he calls GG. He's not too interested in sticking it out. I feel like he could have probably... I don't think the game was exactly over. I mean, remember, he has one base up on the enemy in the bottom right. But it looks like he's just going to allow the Storm to slap him. He did have Vorvs and Naths, which are tier 1.5, but you probably want the... Oh my god. Oof. Yeah, there you go. Sniping the Cantavis definitely hits there, right? So... Arviz is silly. Yeah, I mean, you can see the Hydras aren't doing too terribly versus the small pocketed numbers of units, right? He just needed to be able to pick the Charlatans and the Cantavis. His target selection, I think, was a little bit off. But also, I do think that you probably need something to deal with the Atriuses specifically. And the Hydras alone are not going to cut it, even though they're pretty good in a head-to-head battle. But, yeah, the Bactalisks would have helped you snipe. Lakids would have helped you do a few other things. Like deal all the damage to the front line. But really, I think the Cantavis is what killed him. Jarrell's not interested in the Cantavis, in the Bactalisk rather. So yeah, there's some musing, some food for thought. And now we get some storm porn, I suppose. Well, then die, IDK. Yeah, I do think that there's a couple of options that Zerg wasn't exploring in this particular case, but you know, there's always more to think about. And obviously, the Atrius itself doesn't deal splash damage anymore, so that's a pretty big change to the matchup by itself. Meanwhile, a bunch of the other splash sources, the Positron, the Idol, those got buffed, and of course the Sycophant and the Drakodin did as well. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the typing assist and the ability to check out some ZVP and then PVZ in terms of who is victorious. We will, of course, have some more Cosmonarchy coming up for you, and we'll finish up the series on that third map that I can't remember, but you guys saw at the beginning of the video. It'll be a great time. GG, boys.